Call this regularly scheduled meeting of Georgetown County Council on January the 12th, 2021 to order. First item on the agenda is the invocation. If Mr. Carolina would do us the honors.
Good evening. Will you bow your heads as we pray? Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who have gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health, and as we fulfill our callings for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing responsibilities. Thank you as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us from your boundless and gracious nature. Dear Father, we pray for the restoration of our democratic order and for the elimination of this COVID pandemic upon the land. Give us wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times. Give us a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people. Give us a keen thirst for justice and righteousness. Give us confidence in what is good and fitting. Give us the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. And give us personal peace in our lives as we serve the people we represent. I pray for this agenda set before us today and ask for assurance of what would please and benefit those who live and work in Georgetown County, South Carolina. It is in our most blessed name we pray. Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
The following council members took an oath of office for the upcoming four-year term on January the 7th. They are Bob Anderson, District 2, Everett Carolina, District 3, Lily Jean Johnson, District 4, and Raymond Newton, District 5. I'd also like to welcome our interim county attorney, Tommy Morgan. Welcome, sir. And in compliance with the County Council's rules of procedure, at the first council meeting in January following each general election, County Council selects a member to serve as chairman and a member to serve as vice chairman for a two-year term. You can't see me smiling under this mask, but I am. We have been successful in persuading Louis Morant to become our council chair. I'm very pleased that Louis has agreed to take on this responsibility, and I know he will serve us well. I now offer a motion that by acclamation, we elect Councilmember Louis Morant as chair and Councilmember Lily Jean Johnson as vice chair. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Anderson.
I'm proud to do so.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All in favor? Congratulations, Mr. Chairman and Ms. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First, I would like to thank my fellow council members for their vote of confidence, and I really appreciate the opportunity to continue serving the residents of Georgetown County, and I appreciate the ability to serve the residents of Georgetown County in a different capacity. So thank you all again for your vote of confidence. And also, I'd like to thank my vice chair, Ms. Lily Jean Johnson, also for agreeing to serve as vice chairman of this particular council. Would you like to? Okay. Let us go ahead and go forward with the agenda. May I get a motion for the approval of tonight's county council agenda?
I second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that the agenda for this evening be approved. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by showing the sign. Opposed? Okay. Agenda is approved. We are recommending that certain items be moved up on the agenda. Report 15A, Report 15B, 15C, 15D, and 15E. And we're also asking that ordinance number 20-61 be moved to the beginning of the agenda also. Are there any objections to those items being moved to the beginning of the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a motion for it to be moved?
So moved.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that those items be moved to the beginning of the agenda. We will now go forward with 15A, report to council. We'll be highlighting the nonprofit spotlight on the village group.
Mr. Chairman.
We started this program with young people in mind, primarily because we see the need. The Village Group really was a mechanism for our young people to have a new direction, a new vision on life, and be able to see something a little differently.
We're exposing them to various things. In addition, giving them that love and that support. We want to make sure that our students, our kids, recognize that and know that that's available to them.
Through the summer program, my daughter's reading scores went up tremendously when fall came back in. Usually they expect for the kids' scores to drop maybe like 15, 20 points. Hers shot up 20 points. And that's because they're constantly reading. They're bringing home sometimes assignments. So it's just not like, okay, a daycare. They're actually learning throughout the summer. So kids and parents from all over the county want to take a part of that.
When I first entered the village group, it wasn't a lot of kids there. I was like, hey, I don't know if I want to do this. But when I started going to camp over and over, it really made a difference. I started liking school again. I felt as though I became a better mathematician because that's one reason why I majored in math in college, because of the village group. And I met great friends, like a lot of my friends from different schools because of the village group.
My name is Jonathan Greer, and my favorite program is the Summer Academy because we get to go on fun field trips, and we also get to see our friends, and also in the summer get to learn. So when we come back to the next grade, we'll know some things.
Where did this discipline come from? Where did this love of learning come from? And it's from these incredible teachers and mentors of the village group who have dedicated so much time in their lives to these kids in this community, and it really shows in the students.
It is very, very important for the community members at large to come back to give to a foundation, a nonprofit organization such as the Village Group. It is extremely important because in order for all of these programs to happen, in order for the Summer Academy, the after-school program, all of the different events, the exposure for the kids, we cannot do it if the people don't pour back into the Village Group organization.
Truly, I thank the Village Group daily. I couldn't ask for a better program for my children to be a part of. Not just because it's a program that was established by those in Plainsville, but because of what it's doing to change the lives of our children.
We think the mission that we have is a great one. We like to continue to do what we're doing because we think Georgetown County, we think South Carolina, we think this country is better off today because of the work that we're doing.
member of the Village Group. She is now in her second year of teaching at Georgetown Middle School, mathematics, what she dreamed to want to do. I also want to point out that the young man who spoke towards the end was a Coastal Carolina University student from Pawleys Island who, after spending time at the Village Group, had changed his major, changed his dream, chose not to leave the area, and now has his own business very successfully here in Georgetown County, continuing in Pawleys Island. We are very proud of what we're able to bring to Georgetown County, and we thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
I apologize if the microphone's not working. Just to clarify, sir, I want to make sure, and I get the sense of the council that it was going to be approved, that the items 15A, B, C, D, and E be moved forward, as well as the recommendation to defer second reading of ordinance number 2061, which is item 11C in agenda packet at the request of the applicant. There was a motion and a second, but a vote wasn't taken on that. I think it would be most prudent if we take a vote just to clarify for the record.
Thank you. May I have a vote on those items 15A, 15B, 15C, 15D, and report 11C being moved upward on the agenda? I think there was a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you.
And again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that, and I promise I'm not trying to, I just want to clarify the motion, the report at 11C, which was the second reading of that ordinance. It's my understanding that it was recommended that be deferred at the request of the applicant, not move forward upon the agenda item, but to be deferred until a later meeting at the request of the applicant.
Okay. So we need a motion to have it to accept the recommendation of the applicant to move, well, to defer that particular item?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So moved.
Have a second? Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that item regarding ordinance number 20-61, report 11C, be deferred. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So item 11C has been deferred. We have we have two volunteers, a volunteer and an employee to be recognized tonight. We'll move on down to item report 15C, recognition of 2020 Volunteer of the Year.
Chairman Morant, members of council, thank you. And I just want to say something before we start with these presentations. We do these from time to time, and I know Mr. Anderson is new tonight on council, but he's been here before, so I don't know if he's really familiar with the whole program. One of the awards tonight was Employee of the Quarter, then we have Employee Volunteer of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, and Manager of the Year. And I just wanted to give council a little insight into how this works. This is a highly competitive choosing between these folks. It is not a rubber stamp deal. This is a big deal for someone to receive one of these awards. Oftentimes we have multiple applicants, 4, 5, 6 applicants sometimes that are submitted by their departments. And a lot of times it's like choosing between which quarterback was best, and they both threw 6 touchdowns in the game. So it is not an easy decision. And it is one that when these folks receive these types of awards, it is very well deserved. And I think you started on 15C, which, Mr. Chairman, which would be correct. And I just want to let you know that we will have to defer presentation for the Employee of the Quarter, Ms. Bridget Giroux. She has had to go out on cautionary COVID quarantine today, so she was not able to attend. And so we'll move right on into the Volunteer of the Year, which is item 15C. And at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Gene Turner to come up and join me. And I'm going to try to, yeah, and y'all can clap because he earned it. So, Mr. Gene is a volunteer up at our Midway Fire Department. He works out of the headquarters station there, and he does 2 or 3 days a week. He comes in, sometimes more than that, and helps the folks out with different office work and things, manning the front desk, dealing with the public as they come in. But one of the most valuable things that he does for Midway is he takes the burden of the documentation and stuff off of our fire inspector folks. You know, they have well over 1,000 businesses that they do fire inspections on a daily, hourly, sometimes multiples in an hour. It's quite a lot on those folks, and being able to take that documentation part off of their shoulders allows them to better serve the community. But Mr. Gene is just a fantastic individual. He's been helping out there for years. And not to pick on Mr. Gene a little bit, but he has some mobility issues. But he's the type of guy, he won't drive his car and park in the handicap spot because somebody might actually need it. So he rides his bicycle down to the fire station just to make sure that anybody who comes up is going to have a spot. That's the kind of guy he is, and one that we are absolutely fortunate to have working with us, and we hope that relationship will continue for some time to come. Thank you, Mr. Gene. You are our Volunteer of the Year. Thank you, sir. All right. And we're going to ask some folks to come up and get some snapshots and all that good stuff. Do we want to wait until the end? All right, let's go ahead and do it now, if you don't mind. Chief, you'll join us and somewhere. Justin's so scared. We'll let Mr. Lewis get sit back down. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So our next award, Mr. Gene was a volunteer. Mr. Gene was a volunteer from the community. He's not a county employee, although he kind of serves as one. So our next award is going to be an employee of Georgetown County who does volunteer work in our community. So he's our Employee Volunteer of the Year. This one happens to come from Midway Fire again. We have Master Firefighter Justin Linker. Justin serves up at Midway Fire, obviously. And he was nominated for this award due to all the outstanding work that he does in our community. Justin does several different fundraising events each year. He is big into autism awareness and raising funds for autism. He does a firefighter academy type thing each year where the proceeds go to the Carney Strong Foundation. And as many of you may remember, Josh Carney was one of our battalion chiefs at Midway, and he passed away of cancer. Justin has been extremely instrumental in working to get a bill pushed forward in our state legislature to help protect firefighters when they come down with cancer, because it's a very prevalent illness in firefighters with all the carcinogens and things that they're exposed to. To sum it all up with Justin is we can't figure out when he actually sleeps because of all the other stuff that he does in the community, along with working full-time and doing everything else that we need him to do at the fire department. There's like 27 hours in his day. So we really want to recognize Justin for all the work that he does and all the things that he does to help our community right here in Georgetown, and we really appreciate everything you do. Thank you, sir. Picture time, sir. Yeah, I was just going to let them know why. And Mr. Chairman, while you return to your seat, just to let you know, our final award that was on our agenda tonight is for Manager of the Year. And to let you know how somebody else put it, this is an award for an overachiever who has decided to overachieve this afternoon, and he works in the IT profession and some things didn't go right. So he's stuck up at Walkmall making sure everything runs tomorrow during business hours, and he wasn't able to make it tonight. So we'll defer that to a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ackerman. And congratulations again to the two volunteers. We'll move forward to public comment. County Council sets aside 30 minutes at the beginning of each meeting to allow for public comments. Members of the public who wish to address council during the public input period should sign up with the clerk of council before the meeting is called to order. Each speaker will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. If there are more than 6 speakers, the time allotted will be reduced to allow all speakers to present within the 30-minute period. Do we have any persons signed up to speak this evening?
Mr. Chairman, we do have 16 speakers signed up to speak. They will each be given 2 minutes. Our first speaker is Alicia Matthews.
Do I need to sign in here? Oh, okay. I set my timer. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Brunson Matthews. My family is originally from this area. Last year, my family and I decided to buy land and move back to Georgetown County. I closed on a piece of property in the Browns Ferry community in August, at which time I started working with the building department and different resources in the community to build a house. I was very specific when dealing with the building and the zoning department about the type of property we wanted to build, commonly known in today's market as a tiny house. The good thing was Georgetown County had recently reviewed and taken into consideration the tiny house ordinance, which had recently passed under the International Building Codes. So once we got the original conversations going, that wasn't an issue. Once we figured out that we were going to proceed with that building, we submitted the request for an approval, and the original building code, or the permit was $5,000 to build a 612 square foot house. So since it was the primary residence on that piece of property, we went on and paid it. We were building a second house for 399 square feet, which is less than your small residence guidelines. And the amount that we were quoted was $4,000 to build a house that would cost me $42,000 to build. That's a lot. In my conversations, I wasn't guided or provided what I could do to fit within the guidelines. And finally, last week, after speaking with your building department, we settled on if I remove the stove, the house could be considered at a reduced amount, at which time I was given a approval of $670. So from November until last week, it took me to get that taken care of, and I know my time is up. So I think that's something that we need to talk about. Let me know, I'd like for someone to get back with me, because I'm sure I'm not the first person to encounter such an issue, and I really hope to be the last. Thank you.
William Cooper? William Cooper? All right. Mary Beth Klein?
Good evening and Happy New Year. I'm Mary Beth Klein, and I'd love to take William Cooper's time, if I may. It's good to see you all here and healthy. I live in Pawleys Island, and as you know, I represent Keep It Green's efforts to protect and preserve our land and our community and our quality of life in the Lower Neck. This meeting marks the beginning of a new year, and it gives us collectively an opportunity for a fresh start on how we can work together to make Georgetown County a model county for others to emulate. After living through a tumultuous year of deadly disease and violence and hate and divisiveness, we have an opportunity as a county and community to come together and develop win-win solutions to the issues we face. One of those issues should have been before you tonight, the proposed rezoning of the Pettigrew parcel to allow for a 182-unit apartment complex. And that proposal presents a dilemma. On one hand, the county's Alliance for Development would like to find good purpose for this land and preferably sell it and use those funds to help solve other issues that the county faces, while the adjoining neighborhoods are already experiencing unprecedented flooding and traffic issues, and therefore have grave concerns about any development on that land, let alone high-density apartments. All those communities, Pettigrew, Hammock Cove, St. Christopher's, they're all on record and actively oppose this project. That opposition extends to the broader community in the Lower Neck as well. In addition to the 100 of emails that are in your packet, more than 1,000 citizens of Districts 6 and 2 have signed a petition in opposition to this proposal, and the number grows daily. And finally, our Planning Commission, as you all know, voted that you should deny this project. So I'm proposing that we start this new year with a bold, fresh, positive approach and find the optimal solution for this property. Why defer this to the 26th? Why not deny it tonight? What's going to change in 2 weeks that will address the reasons behind the overwhelming opposition to the project? And I know that the council's never done this before, but you do have the opportunity to do this. You can vote to take it back up for a vote and to deny it. And there's a big benefit, because it would then open the door for Brian and his team to explore other uses for this land, win-win solutions for both the community and the county. We believe that such a solution exists out there, and we can get there if you vote to deny this proposal, get it off the table, and we can work together to find the optimal one. Thank you for your time, for your service, and for making Georgetown County a better place to work and live in. Thank you.
Marla Hamby?
Well, you know I bring this every single time. It is page 23 of the voted upon, approved Georgetown County Land Use Plan dated 2015. I'm not speaking for myself tonight. I'm reading a letter that was sent to County Council from Dr. Jan Majeski. She's a PhD retired. I've been studying and doing things that I thought I would never do with soil conditions, wetlands, and other things. But my friend Jan is a lot smarter than I am, so I'm going to read her words. I am dismayed to learn that there is consideration of the destruction of the wetland forest area to build yet another apartment/housing complex in Pawleys Island. It seems so ironic that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources was just awarded monies to restore wetlands, and you and the county leaders are considering yet more destruction. With so much of the wetlands, marshes, forested areas long destroyed, I would hope that leadership would do all in their power to halt such destruction. All the wetland areas, forests, natural areas, no matter how small, should now be permanently protected. Those areas contribute to sustaining the life support systems of the planet, which all life, including human life, depends. So much has been destroyed in the name of progress that we are now in dire straits with problems brought on by the climate change we have propagated. The natural areas are vital to carbon storage, oxygen production, the cleansing of the water that moves through them, besides controlling runoff, as well as various nitrogen and mineral cycles. South Carolina is the watershed for the mid-eastern United States. These areas are also vital to the processing and release of needed nutrients into the ocean, which in turn supports life and cycles that occur there that support us all. Please take strong leadership on this matter and instead invoke a moratorium of the destruction of any more natural areas without a full scientific study of the consequences. And it is signed Dr. Jan Majeski, PhD, retired. Now, Marla Jean Hamby says, I'm extremely disappointed that you did not vote to deny this request, that you deferred it. There are people, and I know they're going to speak tonight, that get flooded every time we just have a little rainfall. We don't need 182 rental apartments at very high rates. Thank you.
Martin Farrell.
Good evening. During this process with the Pettigrew Apartments proposal, I have been very critical, and rightly so, about the traffic study submitted by Graycliff. It's a low-quality effort which intentionally downplays all the obvious traffic problems that this project will generate. But no matter how the stats are tweaked, gathered, or presented, the simple truth is that the project will create a traffic nightmare, and its approval will dump the costly solutions into the lap of the taxpayers of Georgetown County. Anyone with an iota of common sense can see that dumping hundreds and hundreds of vehicular trips per day into this area will bog down traffic flow and create dangerous intersections which are only controlled by stop signs. The study alleges 1,100 vehicle trips per day will be created, but that is their lowballed estimate. But even if you accept their 1,100 number, that breaks down to 46 vehicles per hour over a 24-hour period. The number grows to over 60 plus per hour if you eliminate the late night, early morning hours of midnight to 6 a.m. That's 60 plus cars per hour stopping at stop signs and going through intersections. 60 plus vehicles per hour going through residential neighborhoods. And remember, this is in addition to the existing traffic volume. Good luck backing out of your driveway on the Pettigrew. Good luck pulling out from Paulie's Place or Paulie's Cove. Let's clear the decks for better possibilities. Vote no on this project. Thank you.
Amy Jones.
Good evening. I asked for a little leeway as this is my first time presenting as myself and I was expecting a bit more time. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Amy Jones. I began attending both Planning Commission and County Council meetings as I was becoming increasingly aware of the uptick in development in the county. Before coming forward to speak tonight, I spent a great deal of time just sitting in the back of this room listening and trying to educate myself as to how things work in my community. I've learned a great deal, and I come before you this evening to try to build relationships between our local administrative agencies and the community. I believe we are finding and uncovering common ground, and I hope we can continue to build upon that. When I first learned of the proposal for the 182-unit multifamily housing project presented by the Graycliff Capital Partners, I listened intently to Mr. Acey, and then I went home and I did some homework. It's important for this council and the members of the community to understand exactly what Graycliff Capital Partners is. By their own definition, they are a dynamic, data-driven, strategic, and real estate investment firm, making investment decisions based on three key objectives: the preservation of investment capital, current cash flow, and return and capital appreciations. They claim to invest in underserved submarkets of areas with tremendous growth potential and tout their market research to reveal such areas. Many of these areas are in the Carolinas, yet the company is expanding their growth both to the Midwest and to the North. In a nutshell, where population density is exceeding its boundaries, Graycliff can be found. Further reading led me to several articles announcing the various acquisitions of this firm. In most every single one of these articles, the properties are described specifically as Class A luxury multi-housing units, most of them listing in the millions. They all tout resort-style amenities, upscale complexes with many garden-style residential buildings, and the latest in spa-style offerings, including, in one instance, a dog spa. Certainly, no one could confuse these descriptions of their properties with affordable housing. They are simply not in the business of affordable housing, as such investment would be counterproductive to their stated goals. And let's not forget about those forested wetlands, and I'll be quick here. It simply isn't part of their mission in any of their stated advertisement or published articles on the internet or anywhere else that you read about them in their own publications. They do not mention environmental protection. If it were a part of their goal, they wouldn't be requesting a property to be built on protected wetlands, nor would they be requesting the zoning increase to maximum density. We've observed this fact right here in our own community when Graycliff's Waterleaf development in Merle's Inlet had almost every tree on the property removed, much to the chagrin and the continued concern of our Planning Commission and the County Council at the time. While all of us recognize and emphasize with the pickle the county has found itself in with this property, the current proposed solution simply isn't the right one for our community. Please support your own Planning Commission by voting to deny this proposal when it does come before you, and let's work together to find investors with goals that are commensurate with the needs of our community. Thank you for your patience.
Kevin Barry.
Good evening. I'm addressing the council this evening to voice my opposition to the planned community on Pettigrew Road. It's my understanding that council approved to have a master stormwater plan done by a company called Thomas & Hutton. This company has barely gotten off the ground when one of the watersheds that feeds into the Waccamaw River from Pettigrew and Waverly is being talked about being built on. This plan has just started. I think it would be prudent to find out what Thomas and Hutton has to say about the property there. It's my understanding that they were also part of the engineering plan. Secondly, it appears that there's been a lot of lobbying going on with the local neighborhood, with the African American churches and elders. There's been lobbying going on to get their support for this project. I'm not entirely sure if I've ever heard of a councilman lobbying a constituency to get something passed, unless it was in the interest of that councilman. I just don't understand this. I don't understand how someone can lobby a neighborhood rather than go to the neighborhood and say, what's your opinion? But it's being lobbied, and it's wrong. I have a copy of the November 26th Coastal Observer here, where Council District 6, Steve Goggins, and I quote, this is all about rezoning, I quote, "Over time, one set of commercial or residential uses may work better in one location than another, driven by many different factors. This often creates tensions between those who eschew change and those who move in response to evolving opportunities and constraints." I think it's kind of obvious about the opportunities. I am vehemently opposed to this, and I don't know, I just think that maybe our county councilman might have a dog in this fight. Thank you for your time.
Heather Kender.
Good evening. I'm Heather Kinder, and I live in Rice Fields and Pawleys Island in District 6. I'm asking that you reject the Gray Cliff Capital's proposal to rezone and build the 182 apartments on Pettigrew tonight, or any other night that it comes before you. Please oppose this. Your own Planning Commission voted unanimously to reject this request. Your own planning staff did not recommend the project. They referenced the land use element, which reads, "The goal is to," and I quote, "protect low and medium density residential neighborhoods from commercial and high density encroachment." This request flies in the face of that goal. Gray Cliff Capital is requesting the maximum allowable density, going from 0 apartments on this site to 182, 0 to 182. The other issue I have is an idea that the developer has been peddling all over town, that these apartments are somehow going to be an affordable housing option for the workforce of Pawleys Island. As someone who was raised by 2 teachers, I find this offensive. By the developer's own presentation to the Planning Commission, we can use Waterleaf in Merle's Inlet, as was mentioned earlier, as a model. So let's do that. A 2-bedroom apartment will cost you about $1,300 a month. $1,300 is more than I and many of my neighbors in Rice Fields pay for their monthly mortgage. It's common knowledge that rent should never exceed 30% of your take-home pay. It's the only way that you'll be able to save to have a family, for a house, for retirement. You'd have to earn over $50,000 to live in these apartments. According to ZipRecruiter, the average annual salary for our zip code, 29585, is as follows. On average, firefighters earn $40,000. Teachers earn $28,000. Retail and servers earn $23,000 and $22,000. How are these members of our workforce, many of them frontline, supposed to afford $1,300 a month without having sacrifices, making sacrifices like children and having roommates, another insult? If this developer was serious about helping this community, they would select a parcel of property that is appropriate and zoned for high density. There are 3 such properties on the market right now. And they would build affordable housing, not that is expensive and unattainable. I'm asking you to please reject this request whenever it comes before you. Thank you very much.
Nicole Barksdale.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Barksdale, and I live in Pawleys Island. I'm a resident in Ricefields, which happens to be Council District 6. I'm here to speak in opposition of the Gray Cliff zoning change request. There appears to be a significant problem relative to the current zoning of this property. I will read from the Georgetown County Zoning Ordinance 1703 entitled Reversion. To prevent land speculation at the expense of the general public and to ensure the timing of projects in accordance with state development objectives, construction shall start on all properties rezoned planned development within 2 years after rezoning. If construction is not begun within 2 years after rezoning to a planned development, the Planning Commission shall review the zoning of said property and shall initiate proceedings to return the zoning of the property to its original classification, which in this case is forest agricultural, or to such classification as the Planning Commission deems consistent with the comprehensive plan. According to Ordinance 300, the word shall is mandatory. This property was rezoned in 2015 to a technology park. That was more than 5 years ago. Construction of this technology park never happened. The time within which this property should have been reverted has long since passed. The land is still vacant and undisturbed. Despite the requirement of the ordinance, the Planning Commission never reverted it back to its original forest agricultural zoning. If the Planning Commission and Planning Development had done what it was required to do by law, we would not be dealing with a developer who's trying to make his high-density project look like the lesser of evils compared with a technology park that does not even exist today. The developer argues that his project generates less traffic and contains less impervious surface than a technology park would. The reality is that there is presently no traffic generated by this land and no impervious surfaces. Gray Cliff's proposal should be compared to what actually exists on this tract right now, which is vacant land and wetlands. And there is no traffic and no stormwater or flooding to a neighborhood already fraught with extensive problems. There's no legitimate reason to defer this decision to another night. No reason whatsoever. Please do not defer this decision, and please vote tonight to deny this request once and for all. Thank you.
Karen Yanaga.
Good evening. After 4 years, I'm not here to talk about the Opticon emergency system, but I hope it's still on the table with this group. Thank you. I am here and reading a letter sent by Lynn Ford. Neither she nor her husband, Reverend Johnny Ford, could be here this evening to address you in person. Lynn is newly elected member of the school board and has a school board meeting tonight. And Reverend Ford had a coworker who tested positive for COVID, and he must quarantine. They both regret that they cannot be here in person to address you personally, and so they asked me if I would present that for them. To the members of the Georgetown County Council, as a longtime resident of Pawleys Island, I am writing to urge you to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to reject the proposed Pettigrew project. I regret not being with you in person, but I am fulfilling my duties as a Georgetown County School Board member this evening. I am well aware that the Georgetown County has a huge housing problem, Pawleys Island in particular. Options are expensive and few. You may hear other voices tonight tell you that because professional and young people don't have adequate housing in Pawleys, the proposed apartment complex would be ideal. However, this project provides a short-term solution that would only serve a few. Rental prices are subject to the desires and needs of the management company, not the developer. The initial price may sound appealing to some, but what happens in a few years down the road if the building is not at capacity or the prices begin to climb? My husband, Johnny Ford, in a meeting with the Planning Commission and County Council a few months ago, mentioned that to him, affordable housing in our community means the pride of home ownership and better property values for our homes. Affordable housing means teaching local residents how to aspire to the first-time home ownership as opposed to renting or living in a substandard house. My husband and I want to help build community. Our goal, along with other community and business leaders, is to create a legacy so that this community can be a true community. Pettigrew Drive has long been filled with hard-working families. Several of my relatives still live in their homes on Pettigrew. Over time, a few businesses were added, and it became a throughway for folks looking to avoid Highway 17. Finally, let's address the elephant in the room. With the African American population being only 3% in Pawleys Island, we may be viewed as insignificant. That is, you can't make major decisions based on such a small population. Hence, we often feel neglected, even invisible. When you add the fact that many of the African Americans here are either elderly or are low on the SCS scale, decisions made that benefit the majority of residents are often to the detriment of the minority. And that is a major reason that I do not want this Pettigrew project. It would not serve the African American community at all. Please listen closely to your constituents who would be most adversely impacted if this project is approved. Please stand up for the community and vote tonight on this major issue. Let's not drag it out any longer than necessary. Don't defer or delay the vote. We have all the information we need right now, and quite frankly, so do you. Thank you, Lynn B. Ford, Pettigrew Drive resident. Thank you very much.
Art Murphy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Art Murphy. I'm a retired architect. I live in Pawleys Island. I've spoken both to the Planning Commission and to the City Council on a couple of occasions. I was primarily one of the few, if only, supporters of the Waverly Kings River Road project, and my basis for that was good design, better use of the land, less effect on the land that I believe good design showed. I am not in support of this Mercon project. Going from 0 to 182 is just, quite frankly, unacceptable. My question to you as City Council and the Planning Commission, asked very few questions of the staff or the developer. I've spent 35 years on a planning and zoning committee in Reston, and we would have peppered the developer with lots of questions. Also, the county government people, how has this land been marketed? Who has it been marketed to? Have you explored other options? It's 15 acres. If you had it at 1 acre single-family homes, that's 15 homes. If you did quarter-acre lots, which I think is something similar to Hammock Cove, you'd end up with 60 single-family homes. If you don't want to do any of that, then whose responsibility is it to take a look at that land and now decide what's its best use? The other question I have is, what about the Mercon property? It's abandoned. I drove through it today. There's nothing in there but furniture and such. What could that property be used for? Could that be a senior center? Could it be a daycare center? Could the rest of the land be an environmental park? Georgetown County already owns the land. I understand they want to sell it and get some of the money back, but you already have Stable Park and Retreat Park. What about an environmental park somehow associated with Coastal Carolina University or Clemson? Again, it would keep it as a wetland, and it could be a win-win situation for everybody. I think that the reason this is deferred is that the developer's going to come back with an alternate that's going to have 150 units, 120 units, and it's bait and switch, and I recommend that you deny this request. Thank you.
Marty Green.
Hello, my name is Marty Green, and I live at 18 Majors Court off of St. Christopher's Circle. I have a half an acre there with most of the land is back in the woods behind the house, and it butts up to this said property on Pedigree. I also have it's wet most of the time back there, and if they build up on that land, which they'll have to build anything on it, it's going to cause the lands to flood right back into my house and up behind my house and my storage unit, which is already almost always wet. The rains run right down beside from the retention pond across the street into my property and down into the back part of my property, which also butts up, like I said, to Pedigree property that they're wanting to rezone. When it rains out there, the street and everything runs right down beside my property, and I'm asking you to please help this not happen to the people who can't afford to take these big developers in our area, and help us to help ourselves. And please do not accept this proposal. Thank you.
Betsy Powers.
Good evening. My name's Elizabeth Powers. I'm a resident of St. Christopher Circle since 2007. When we purchased our property, we were told we have an acre of ground, and the back of our property is wetlands, and there can be no permanent structures on it, period. And to this day, it remains that way. It's my understanding also that a property owner cannot direct water from his property onto someone else's. Allowing 182 apartments on the Mercon property would do just that. The engineers will say that they will use some of the natural ways of moving water or use retention ponds, which obviously we all know do not work. They likely have done on other properties, and these methods will slowly release water into the wetlands. These wetlands already flood the neighbors, and when there is just an average rainfall, all you have to do is look at 1 acre lots in St. Christopher's community that back up to the wetlands, and you will see half of their backyards have been swallowed up by water. The people in this community cannot even enjoy their yards. I also live next door to 2 county houses that house disabled people. They also cannot use their backyards. Now, I don't know why the county people aren't here also, speaking up in their behalf, but they haven't been here. Nothing should be built on the Mercon property until the stormwater study is resolved. I don't know how it's going to happen. The water is going to continue, but to use those wetlands is only going to compound the problem. I spoke against this at the Planning Commission meetings, and I speak again against it. I heard the developer is asking to defer this property, which means I'm going to have to speak out again. So more time for the record, I am against this. I think our councilman, Steve Galkin, seems to ignore us and side with the developer. I hope you ignore him and vote not to allow the deferral or to allow this building on this property. I thank you for your time and consideration.
I'm not entirely certain of this name. Is there a John Rhodes? Pennyroyal Road? Oh, that may be it.
Good evening, County Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My issue is about rezoning a property on Pennyroyal Road that I obtained in 2011. We were unaware that the property had been rezoned in 2008 for a non-mobile home. We would like it changed back. When we bought this property in 2011, there was already a mobile home on it. So we had no reason to suspect that we wouldn't be able to upgrade to a newer model house. So we have already purchased a house. We closed on it in November, and we have been unable to put this house on this property due to the new zoning. The house that we're living in is falling apart, and we would really like to speed this process up, if possible, to allow us to get this new house on this property. That's about all we're trying to accomplish. I appreciate your time.
Cindy Person?
To wait for my glasses to unfog. Good evening. My name is Cindy Person. What an eloquent letter my friend Lynn Ford wrote. I'm glad she addressed the elephant in the room. That took courage, and it needed to be said out loud because it's the truth. I know it, you know it, and the developers know it. The developers are shrewd businessmen, and they know the score, which is why I suspect they asked to defer this vote this evening. They would love to come before you with the blessing of the African American community because they know they do not have it today. They have gone to unbelievable lengths that personally offend me, to win the support of the African American community by enticements such as financial contributions and even the promise to build and donate a building to the Civic Club, contingent, of course, upon approval of this project. But the neighborhood voted unanimously to oppose this project. I think the developers were surprised. I think they thought it would be an easy sell. They also may have been surprised to learn yesterday from Pastor Adger and Pastor Ford, longtime leaders of the community, that we have a petition signed by more than 900 residents of this community, including this neighborhood. Late yesterday afternoon, we got word that there had been a deferral request. The developers are in town. They're not sick or unavailable. I saw them just last night at the Civic Club, where they were continuing to try to drum up support unsuccessfully by listening to the African American community. If they were listening, they would have heard them say, "No, thank you. We do not want this in our neighborhood." If they respected the community, they would withdraw their plan instead of continuing to hound them to change their minds. If it weren't for COVID, the community would be here in droves. So, the reason for this deferral request is obvious. If the rumor is true that I've heard that council is going to go virtual after tonight, I would submit that to defer a vote on this to a time when council will be virtual with no opportunity for meaningful live public input would be a violation of the First Amendment. So that situation would be wholly beneficial to the developers and wholly prejudicial to everyone else. So I would submit to you that you have everything you need to vote. Please do not delay the decision. Please vote tonight to deny this request. If you choose not to do that, then please defer it to a time when there is an opportunity for live public input. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that was our final speaker.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank everyone for their comments. We move on down to the approval of minutes. We all have received a copy of the minutes in our package. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes as submitted?
So moved. Second. I'll second it.
All right. It has been properly moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as submitted. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? We're going to go forward to the public hearings.
Mr. Chairman, there's a consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Okay. We've already approved the agenda, haven't we? Have you approved the regular agenda?
By virtue of approving the agenda today, the items on the consent agenda are approved.
Yes, we have approved the agenda for this evening, and by virtue of that approval, we have approved also procurement number 20-059, the Airport Engineering and Planning Services. So now we move forward to our public hearing. Thank you. The floor is now open for public comments related to ordinance number 20-56. Having no comments regarding that particular ordinance, the floor is now closed. The floor is now open for public comments related to ordinance number 20-57. Having not heard any public comments, the floor is now closed. The floor is now open for public comments regarding ordinance number 20-58. Having heard of no comments, the floor is now closed. Let's see. The floor is now open for public comments regarding to the application for extension of fireworks prohibited zone to extend beyond the subject property to include adjacent property, public property. Having heard of no comments, the floor is now closed. We will now take action on the application for extension of fireworks prohibited zone to extend beyond the subject property to include adjacent public property. Do we have a motion to approve Mr. Norwood's application?
I move to approve Mr. Norwood's application for a fireworks prohibited zone.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that the application of Mr. Norwood for extension of fireworks prohibited zone to extend beyond the subject property to include adjacent public property. All in favor of the motion, let it be known. Opposed? Motion passed. We'll now move down to appointments to boards and commissions. It's my understanding that we have an appointment by Mr. Godwin to the Georgetown County Airport Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to respectfully recommend the appointment of Dr. Jerry Crosby to serve on the Georgetown County Airport Commission.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation of Mr. Godwin for the appointment of Dr. Jerry Crosby to Georgetown County Airport Commission. All in favor of the recommendation? No, we get a motion, second to the motion, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that Mr. Godwin's recommendation be accepted. All in favor? Opposed? We also have an appointment to the Economic Development Alliance Board by Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I move that we appoint Ronnie, and her name is spelled Ronnie, not Robbie, Ronnie, to serve on the Economic Development Alliance Board, representing District 4.
I make a motion. I'll second that.
It has been properly moved and seconded that the recommendation of Ms. Johnson be accepted. All in favor? Opposed? We move on down to the third reading of ordinances. Are there any comments or questions regarding ordinance number 20-56? Hearing none. May I have a motion for approval of for third reading approval of ordinance number 20-56?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for the approval of ordinance 20-56.
I second that.
It has been properly moved and seconded that ordinance number 20-56 be approved. All in favor? Opposed? Are there any comments regarding ordinance number 20-57? Hearing none. May I have a motion for third reading approval of ordinance number 20-57?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for the approval of ordinance 20-57.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded for third reading approval of ordinance number 20-57. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. We're now moving down to third reading approval of ordinance number 20-58. Are there any comments regarding ordinance number 20-58? Hearing none. We have a motion for third reading approval of ordinance number 20-58.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adopt ordinance number 20-58.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that ordinance number, third reading approval of ordinance number 20-58 be approved. All in favor? Opposed? Let's go down to, we're now down to second reading of ordinances. Are there any comments or questions regarding ordinance number 20-59?
Council, good evening. I'm going to present this particular ordinance. The last major change we made to this ordinance was in 1999. Mainly, this particular revision updates state law, takes care of format, but probably the main thing this particular ordinance outlines are our revisions to allow for electronic meetings. We are trying to codify this as a part of our ordinance, outlines our procedures and documents as we move forward to have electronic meetings as there is a need. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review several the various revisions that we've made to update our policies and procedures for council, and I'll certainly be glad to answer any questions. It has gone through legal review several times, so I think we have addressed the major issues to make sure we are compliant.
Thank you, Ms. Christian.
Madam-
Are there any comments or
Madam-
questions for Ms. Christian?
Madam Administrator, when you use the term electronic meetings,
Yes, sir.
is that same as virtual?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if we move to electronic virtual meetings, what sort of provision would be provided for the public to lend input even in public comment?
As a part of that, if you remember when we did this several months ago, we allowed for public to come to, basically, they could do it a couple of different ways. We allow for them to be able to actually come to the courthouse, make a statement as they needed to, and also they could also submit information to the clerk of council, presenting all the information in their particular sections. So we are very aware that public comment is important, and we have made provisions for that to be addressed.
Okay. So, in a timely manner, notification will be given to the public that they can follow the proper protocol.
And procedures. Yes, sir.
Meeting numbers, passwords, and everything else that they'll be able to enter.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions for our administrator?
I've got a comment on this. I read through this, and I would like to congratulate you all on the changes you made. I think they're timely, and although I'm a new guy on the block here, I've been to this party before, and I totally go along with everything. So, having said that, I'd like to make a motion for second reading approval of this.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded that.
Bob, you got an amendment to add text?
Gotta make an amendment.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the amendment as incorporating the text.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that for second reading, the approval of ordinance number 20-59, incorporating the text within it. All in favor of the motion?
To amend.
To amend. Opposed? We'll move down to ordinance number 20-6.
We got main motion.
Oh, the main motion, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
back to the main.
Going back to the main motion, we just voted on the amended, okay. Going back to the main motion. All in favor of the approval of ordinance number 20-60? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, I believe it was the main motion was to vote to approve ordinance number 20-59 as amended, not 2060.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's 59, I'm sorry. So let's just go through it again for clarification. Okay. All in favor of approval of ordinance number 20-59 as amended? Okay. All right. Thank you. We now move down to ordinance number 20-60. Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received a request from James and Stephanie Phelan to rezone their parcel located at 2553 Pennyroyal Road in Georgetown from R10 to MR10. This parcel currently has an existing mobile home on the property. The property is about a half acre and is currently non-conforming based on the use that's on the site. The adjacent properties are zoned FA across the street. There's also R10 zoning and MR10 zoning on either side of the track. The surrounding uses are single-family homes, including mobile homes. The MR10 zoning district allows for mobile homes and accessory dwellings on lots larger than 12,000 square feet. And the current R10 zoning does allow for single-family, but not for mobile homes. The Phelans, as Mr. Phelan stated, weren't aware of their current zoning, and they have plans to replace their existing mobile home, which they can't do until the property is rezoned. I know Mr. Phelan mentioned the zoning, which we did countywide in 2008. My records don't show that the property was rezoned at that time. As far as I can see, it's been R10. It seems to be there's some confusion there. The future land use map shows this property, as well as the adjacent R10 and MR10 districts, to be low density. Staff is not recommending a change for the map for a parcel of such small size. We do recommend taking a look at that when we review and recommend wholesale future land use map change for that area. We feel that the surrounding uses and the adjacent MR10 zoning would support the proposed request, and rezoning the parcel would correct an existing non-conforming use. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this on November 19th. There was no one but the applicant came forward to speak, and the Planning Commission recommended unanimously to rezone the property.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Are there any comments or questions for Ms. Richardson?
So, Ms. Richardson, Planning Commission has agreed to consider rezoning subject property for the
Yes.
use.
Yes, sir.
That
They're
the property-
recommending approval for the rezoning to MR10.
Okay, very good.
I have a question. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Caroline, I wanted to direct this to you. I assume this is in your district?
It is.
And I would also assume from reading this request that it's not going to impact any of your neighbor councilmen. And I call that a rhetorical question, but you don't see any issue with this that would lead me to not want to follow your lead on this issue, since it's only involved in your district.
It's no problems. If the
It's one-
rezoning has been approved.
Pardon?
If the rezoning has been approved for these property owners, I have no problem with it.
Okay, well, my point here is that what I will be doing as a member of this council is that if one of my fellow councilmen has a position on an issue within his district, if it's not going to affect anybody else's district or the entire county, I will be taking, in this case, your lead. So I'd be happy to second your request to approve this.
Thank you, Councilman.
Are there any other comments? Okay. May I get a motion to accept the recommendation? Well, may we get a motion for approval?
I make a motion for the acceptance of the rezoning position for the property owners on this matter.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Okay. I think this is second reading, so we will have to get an amendment to the motion to incorporate the text of the ordinance. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I think there are no changes. We just need to vote on it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by your sign. Okay. Opposed? Thank you. We now move down to the first reading of ordinances. Correct. And I will read the ordinances to the record by title only. Ordinance number 21-01, an ordinance to amend the Georgetown County Procurement Ordinance number 20-32, section 2-60 regarding procurement contracts. Also, ordinance number 21-02, an ordinance to authorize the sale of parcels located within the Andrews Business Park, located along Highway 521 as being surplus property. Ordinance number 21-03, to amend Phase A1 of the Bellevue PD and Murrells Inlet to increase the number of lots from 20 to 23 by subdividing a lot that was reserved for future development. And ordinance number 21-04, authorizing the development of a jointly owned and operated industrial business park between Georgetown County and Williamsburg County. Such industrial business park to be geographically located in each county and established pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 4-1-170 to provide for the expenses of the park, the percentage of revenue application, and distribution of fees in lieu of ad valorem taxation and other related matters. Are there any council briefing or committee reports? And I understand we have an item on the agenda for executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session? We're not in executive session. I think we need a second to it. We now recess to executive session. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. Yes. We'll be going to executive session to discuss a legal matter, receipt of legal advice pertaining to potential litigation involving the county pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-78A2. Thank you. We'll now recess to executive session. Okay, we're back. Have a motion to come out of executive session? All in favor? Okay. We're now back in our regular session. We have entered into executive session to discuss a legal matter, and no votes were taken while we were in that particular session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to authorize the county's legal team to pursue an insurance claim and litigation on reasonable contingency fees basis on behalf of Georgetown County.
We have a motion by Mr. Newman
I'll second that.
and second by Mr. Anderson. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion passed. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, yes.
Okay, we hereby adjourn.